If we informed you that music industry great Lionel Richie had been lying to us all along, how would you react? At the age of 74, he came clean and stunned the crowd by admitting that she was his true love. What does this signify for every woman he had previously professed to love? What impact does it have on his relationship right now? To discover out, watch the entire video. Let's tell you a little bit about our guy before we move on to the surprising portion. One legend was Lionel Richie, and he began his musical career at Tuskegee University with the Commodores, a funk soul band. They rose to prominence as one of the world's most popular bands by the late 1970s, and Richie, their gifted musician and attractive kid, was dubbed their golden boy. Someone was busy falling in love, while the rest of the world was enamored with his songs. Let's just say that was the turning point in the story. We won't be the gatekeeper she was till the very end, so don't worry. So here you are. Brenda Harvey was her name. She was his love from college. Surprisingly, the woman became Richie's first wife, and they settled down. After seeing the pair, everyone declared them to be the ideal match, and the issue is that, after giving them a single glance, they began to admire them without realizing what was happening or how terrible things would go. The future will tell us how and when. However, the collegiate romance has now become a public romance, and they took an even more surprising action in 1983. Nicole is a little girl they adopted. She may have been known to the die-hard admirers. It's Nicole indeed. Just so everyone knows, her adoption was more than a random act of generosity. It was the beginning of a convoluted and melancholy tale that would be put to the ultimate test and mocked in the most peculiar manner. What actually occurred then? When did everything begin to fall apart? It all began when the Richie home began to show signs of disintegration in the late 1980s. Lionel was touring the world and winning Grammys as he rose through the ranks of stardom when a young woman called Diane Alexander appeared out of nowhere. They met via mutual circles, and she was only a dancer who starred in the Dancing on the Ceiling music video. What about their chemistry? Definitely. They immediately began to develop a love relationship behind the scenes, and before you realized it, they were deeply immersed in a passionate relationship. Then it took place. Brenda learned about the affair. Everyone would have referred to what transpired next as a smash hit if it had been recorded. Brenda was not a typical woman. She didn't break up with Lionel or confront him about the affair. No, she held off until she was certain. One night, she received a hint that Lionel was in Beverly Hills with his lover. Brenda reportedly caught Lionel red-handed in the act after tracking him down to Diane's flat. Not only was she heartbroken, but she was angry. Lionel was reportedly gasping in agony after she drop-booted him in the stomach. However, police arrived before she could commit error with her bare hands, and Brenda was taken into custody. Spousal abuse and disturbing the peace were among the charges. But no insult, to be honest. However, this was far too humorous. Hollywood loved this story as much as we did. Not because it was humorous, but rather because the reputation was destroyed, and the ideal family picture was revealed to be a lie. Here's the twist though. Lionel and Diane managed to make it work, in spite of the craziness. Crazy, huh? If you knew what occurred next, you won't think it's so crazy. She hesitated for a time. However, Brenda left Lionel and got a divorce after realizing she was living with an unfaithful man. In 1995, Lionel married his lover Diane Alexander, like a good man would. Not cool, dude. They already had a daughter named Sophia and a boy named Miles by that point, so there was no time to repent it. Things appeared to be quiet for a few years. Diane encouraged Lionel's career and was glitzy and self-assured. However, a $20 million divorce deal ended it by 2004. The pair attributed their split to insurmountable disagreements when Lionel bungled the bag once more. But there was a reality hidden underneath that justification. Lionel would not disclose this fact until far later in life. He eventually opened out at the age of 74. What about his admission? Diane wasn't the only one. It was about the ladies he had lost and all the women he had loved during his life. Who was she? Did you wait for someone else, Diane or Brenda? Watch this space to discover out. Are you curious about what this man has to say about himself? For example, why did he ruin his relationship with Diane and cheat on Brenda? He said that everything was wrecked by his ego, traveling, and stardom. To put it in a more complex way, I wrecked myself, but who are we to pass judgment? After this, do you believe he altered his ways and evolved into a new person? The response is startling. However, he still has romance in his life, therefore this was not his whole love story. His life was altered by someone else he met. You may be wondering how he can fall in love at his advanced age. Since love knows no age boundaries and anyone can fall in love at any age, we shall stand up for him on this point. As a result, he developed feelings for a woman who is 40 years his junior. We want to acknowledge that you are correct if you think it's strange that he is seeing someone so young. For this one, Lionel is on his own. Lionel Richie argues that he has at last discovered true love. What's her name? Lisa Parigi. She is a tech-savvy businesswoman, model, and entrepreneur. She owns 2 premium companies and speaks 4 languages fluently. Above all though, Lionel claims that she is his piece. Who is Lisa Parigi, then? And how did she become a longtime partner after becoming a fan? More significantly, how does Lionel's daughter Nicole Richie feel about her father's most recent relationship? There's a lot to unpack here, so hold on tight. The problem is that falling in love gets more difficult after a 20-year marriage, a high-profile divorce, a public scandal, and raising 3 children in the limelight, yet he still did it. Some trolls even referred to him as Diddy, if he was legal, while others began labeling him a pedophile who had discovered the loophole. Going on, Lisa grew up in Switzerland, where she was born. She is multicultural and multilingual due to her Swiss, Caribbean, and Chinese ancestry. She glides with serene assurance through elite society. She is really secretive though. She has never been involved in any scandals, awkward interviews, or reality TV situations. She didn't even know who Lionel Richie was when she first met him. Yes, exactly. Several interviews claim that Lisa was unaware that she was speaking with a legendary figure in music. Perhaps it was the secret that made Lionel's heart melt. Lionel once said, "She just treated me like a normal guy, so you know it's real." That was a welcome change. Let's now investigate why Richie is not a child hunter, and more accurately, why he is being accused of pedophilia. The explanation is straightforward. Richie met Lisa at a private dinner party in 2014 when she was 24 years old. Despite the fact that he is 40 years older than her, the child received the next best thing, but fortunately, she was just old enough for Leonardo DiCaprio to approach her. According to certain regulations, Richie was innocent, and anything that happens beyond the age of 18 is up for grabs. It's not like the reviewers have been more forgiving of Lisa either, but this is it for Richie. Among their many presumptions is whether she is with him for the money. Is Richie experiencing a crisis in his later years? Is Lisa a swindler? Forget about gold, I mean. She is currently only searching for some vintage. In any case, there is something unexpectedly grounded beneath the memes. In comparison to typical Hollywood marriages, they have been together for more than 10 years. Lisa is not arm candy, just so you know. She works in IT and cryptocurrency, and owns the Estate Collection, a candle and lifestyle company. She is elegant, self-made, and above all respects Lionel's history. Mostly because Lionel composed the classic songs Lisa enjoys jamming out to, but we're not passing judgment. According to people close to the couple, Lionel is really appreciative of Lisa's assistance in mending his connection with his children, particularly in light of the turmoil of his previous marriages. In one interview he went so far as to say, "She's my peace and my calm. With her, I've never felt more present or laughed more." However, that does not imply that everything is flawless. Fans frequently wonder why Lionel Richie hasn't wed Lisa Parigi. Given that the two had been together for more than 10 years, the inquiry seems legitimate. She has on rings. What gives then? Some people think that Lionel hasn't asked her to marry him yet since, at his age, you don't ask someone to marry you, your insurance representative does. Despite the jokes, Lionel has implied in interviews that neither of them is interested in getting married. He is reluctant to be married again officially after 2 divorces. Lisa seemed to be quite okay with it as well. Some people think it's strange, some refer to it as modern love. In any case, it's functioning. Everything was going smoothly until Lionel made a controversial statement during an interview, which made people question if it was really that easy. Lionel raised a red flag with his remarks. He said, "Let's just say I've learned how not to lose something good," in response to a question regarding marriage. This caused a lot of controversy since fans couldn't decide if he was referring to Lisa or someone else. The response is unclear. Therefore, it's fortunate that the pair has made the decision to proceed slowly, particularly because Richie has no other choice, because, well, he moves slowly. In addition to being Lionel's girlfriend, Lisa has subtly taken on the roles of mentor and co-parent. She has been spotted with Sophia Richie, Nicole Richie, and even their children. As a result, behind closed doors, Lisa's influence has contributed to a more harmonious family dynamic, not just between Lionel and his ex-wife, Diane Alexander, but also between Richie and the children. You're mistaken if you think this sounds fantastic, since things haven't always gone as planned. Fans noticed something strange when Sophia Richie, whose youngest daughter was born to Lionel, married Elliot Grange in a spectacular wedding in 2023. Lisa didn't appear in many wedding pictures. Did it happen by accident? Or was there conflict simmering in the background? Furthermore, there isn't much information on Richie on Lisa's public page. Why is that? The problem is that Lisa has never utilized Lionel's name for herself, despite having a long-term relationship with one of the biggest names in music. She seldom ever posts about him. Perhaps this is the reason Lionel fell so hard, but it's a warning sign. Even though Lionel seemed to be more in love than ever, his recent admission surprised everyone. A confession that left many wondering whether Lisa rescued him or whether she was merely the one who arrived after the grief. The person who escaped was who? And why does Lionel continue to steer clear of discussing a particular incident from his history that nearly ended his career? Continue to observe to learn the truth. The majority of admirers believe that Lionel's divorce caused his most heartache. What would happen if we told you it wasn't true? The reality is more agonizing and complex. Lionel experienced a life-altering love affair long before his world was transformed into show business, and he later lost that love in a way that still causes him pain. We must return to a period when Lionel was a solo superstar in order to comprehend this pain. He was still the Commodore's frontman, a youthful man with an innocent heart, and lots of aspirations and ambition. Lionel encountered a non-famous woman in those formative years. She wasn't strolling the red carpet or featured on magazine covers. She just recognized him for who he was before anybody else did. They had a deep spiritual and emotional bond. Although he has never officially disclosed her identity, his old acquaintances and co-workers recall how dramatically he changed over that period. They claim that she served as his inspiration for songs like Just to Be Close to You and Still. He began penning softer, more personal lyrics because of her. Not only did he lose a partner when the relationship ended, but he also lost a piece of himself. To cope, Lionel immersed himself in music. His most famous melodies were inspired by the grief. Really, Hello, Say Hello to Me. They weren't only romantic tunes, they were letters of affection to a deceased person. He never gave a specific explanation for the breakup. Some claim she was unable to cope with the attention. Others believe Lionel put his career before his devotion. Lionel has implied in sporadic interviews that this woman was the one that slipped away, regardless of the cause. Lionel has had flings, marriages, and partnerships over the years. However, he did not choose a song about his wife when asked about his most intimate song in a 2016 interview. Still was his choice. Shortly after losing her, he created the song. He claims in the song that the lump in his throat still prevents him from performing. He acknowledged that the song is about the one who escaped. It's difficult to overlook the profound impact that loss had on him. Fans continue to speculate that rather than Lisa Parigi, that lady may have been his actual soulmate. Fans speculate that Lionel may have attempted but failed to re-establish a private relationship with this enigmatic woman. Others speculate that she could have died, which would account for his quiet. Rumor has it that he dedicated one of his most moving performances in recent years, his rendition of Hello at the 2022 American Idol finale, to her. There is still one question once all is said and done. What does that imply for the people in his life now if this lady was in fact the love of his life? For Lisa Parigi, for his kids, for his heritage. Was he never in love with them? Let's prepare for the video's conclusion, in which everything will be revealed. Lionel Richie's decades-long wall between his private sentiments and the public glare is the primary reason we fans will never be able to comprehend his emotions. He provided fans with the well-rehearsed interviews, the music, and the shows. However, he hardly ever showed people what was going on behind the scenes of his flawless persona. When he reached 74 last year, he finally gave in after years of gatekeeping. He began sharing more information about his life, including shocking revelations. Lionel eventually removed the mask in an unannounced interview while promoting a legacy documentary project. He kept the facts private, so it may have been a PR hoax, but he provided enough bait to make people pleased and go crazy for him. Lionel hesitated before grinning in a way that was almost melancholy when asked if he had ever really found the one. He said that before all of this, there had been someone. His poems could never have captured the intensity of that moment. He did not give her a name. He was not required to. The narrative was communicated by the expression in his eyes. His ex-wives had nothing to do with this. He had been with Lisa Parigi for more than 10 years, but it wasn't really about her. This was about her, the lady who molded his heart before it was broken by the outside world. That's not all, don't worry. You go through life thinking you have time, that you'll circle back to the people who mattered. Lionel went on. However, there are moments when you blink and they disappear, or you change, or they do. Just his words were shattering hearts, and to make matters worse, it wasn't even his music. He was speaking from the heart, and the audience found his remarks to be so moving that they wanted to cry with him. This woman's passion or suffering served as the inspiration for some of Lionel's best songs. As Lionel clarified, she was the type of lady who turned quiet into discussion and about whom you don't realize you're composing songs until it's too late. He withheld information, a time frame and labels. For the first time, however, he validated what longtime fans had surmised, that there was one love that stood the test of time behind the chart-topping songs. Nevertheless, he took care to avoid depicting catastrophe. When he talked about her, he grinned. She showed me what it is to feel strongly without having to own something, to care without having control. Although it doesn't always last, that type of love endures over time. Social media was inundated with fans who watched the interview. The vulnerability was lauded by some. Some felt terrible for Lisa Parigi. What does Lionel's present partner stand to gain if he continues to obsess about this woman? However, Lionel also had a response to it. The fans wanted to know the truth. There was not a single fantastic love story in Lionel Richie's life. He lived several lives to the fullest, some in the spotlight and some out of the shadows. Perhaps that's why his music is so timeless. It wasn't influenced by any one feeling when it was composed. It was layered with regret, development, passion, loss, and most importantly love. A love that changed with him. Lionel took a deep breath before responding simply, "Thank you," when asked what he would say to the woman from his past if he could talk to her now. "Everything I've learned with you has shaped who I am now, both positively and negatively. I'm still working on a tale, and you were the first page." He didn't express remorse for the time he spent with her, nor did he say, "I miss you," or "come back to me." He told the truth. For admirers and in the purest and most authentic form of love, he spoke the truth. This was a small but significant resolution to a riddle that had raged for decades. Lionel gave viewers one more piece of advice before the conversation came to an end. For both young and elderly admirers worldwide, these words were sufficient. They started talking about their own past relationships, those that ended, and the individuals that influenced them but left. And Lionel Richie demonstrated one more, that he always performs at his best at that particular moment. Not only amuse, but also establish a connection by openness, heartache, and hope.